Hi, and welcome back to Tuesdays with Tuesday. I'm Tuesday, and I'm here to read to you today. I write fantasy fiction under the name Mary E. Twomey. I write cozy mysteries under the name Molly Maple, and I write contemporary romance under the name Tuesday Embers. You can find my books on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Google Play, iBooks, all the places. And today I'm going to read to you the next chapter of my book, Taste. This is book 1 in the Tearaway series. We are on chapter 15 today. We are just like trucking through this. I'm really proud of us. Again, I'm not a professional reader. I write, which means I shouldn't ever have to read out loud for people and feel bad about it. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of grace and be okay with not being a professional reader and just doing this for fun. So I hope that you have fun with me and you like being read to. I love being read to. It makes me feel like a princess. So, enjoy the sound of my animals running around. I have a bunny, I have 2 mice, I have a Pomeranian, I have 4 cats, and I'm dog sitting right now. And right here is my fish tank, and you might be able to see some of my fish swimming around. So enjoy that. I have a fish tank upstairs too. I have 2 fish tanks. So it's a zoo in here. And also we foster animals, so we have animals coming and going all the time. But we're not fostering right now, we're just dog sitting, which is very fun. Chapter 15, Omens, Reapers, and Mabomberings. Oh my. Mary Ann nodded, her posture more perfect than a doll's. I'm a death omen. Do you know what that means? I shook my head, my mouth dry as sand when I spoke my concern. Danny just barfed a bunch of words at me that barely made any sense. Start from the beginning. Are you here to kill me? She hung her head, saddened at my logical assumption. Of course not. I don't bring death. It's more like I recognize it. I give death a purpose. I even take a little of the suffering if they're in pain. She soaked in my forlorn expression with a sympathetic tilt to her head. It's not as bad as it sounds. All I do is find someone living who's close to death. I shake their hand, take the soul that's cold out of them, and feed it to Danny, much the same as when you fed the energy to Vaughn and Mason. The dying person can't even feel it. Then after a few hours or so, they can die peacefully and painlessly with their soul at rest. Oh, that's all? I quipped, for lack of a better response. I guessed non-stop screaming wouldn't be the big girl way to handle all this, though it was a tempting option. Still, I felt quasi-guilty doling out my attitude onto the girl who'd actually been kind enough to explain things to me. Sorry, I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around everything. Mary Ann softened. Not at all. I was raised knowing about Tearaway, and when I was awakened, it was a sharp turn for me as well. Her fingers twiddled slowly in her lap as she pressed onward. Vaughn said that you helped Tonga pass on. I nodded slowly. Vaughn told me to feel around for something cold and suck it into my hand. Then it turned my insides icy. Mary Ann shivered, her bony shoulders so dainty I worried about the damage the simple movement might do. You'll get used to that. Best exchange it quicker next time. Next time? I recoiled, my nose crinkling. What are my options? How do I make this be over? You'll stay here, Danny stated, not like a request, but a command. I shot him a withering glare. Pass. Danny's hand cut through the air diagonally across his torso. That's it. That's your only option. Mary Ann waved Danny's bossiness off and cast me a conspiratorial, these stupid boys look, which endeared me to her a little more. That's quite impressive that Vaughn and Mason were able to talk you through it, and even more incredible that you were able to pull it off with no training. No one has that ability anymore except for me. She looked down at her thin, fragile hands. Dad's been waiting for a second death omen to come along. He suspected it was you, but we couldn't be sure. That Mason offered Tonga up as a test subject was excellent timing. Unfortunate for her, but I never did care for her temper. All the Mambabarang messengers, really. They're always coming at an issue with weapons blazing instead of solving things with a simple conversation. It's exhausting. She pointed to the ceiling. Prince Langham's still here, waiting to see how well you comply. He's a Mambabarang prince. Probably my favorite person in the whole nation of Sakuna. He can actually be reasoned with, unlike his father, King Jian. My voice was still hoarse as I tried to wrap my mind around the fact that I just killed someone I didn't even know. I'm a death omen then. I felt hollow as dread crashed over me. I kill people now? Mary Yang's aqua eyes were compassionate as they observed my despair. You killing Tonga was only so you would be awakened. You won't actually have to kill anyone after this. Danny was standing next to Mary Yang with his feet shoulder-width apart and his arms crossed over his chest. Tearaway depends on these souls being reaped. There are 7 nations, so we have to reap at least 7 souls a day, plus 1 if we want things stable for an entire 24 hours. That's 8 souls a day. It regulates the suns in Tearaway, makes their crops grow, and keeps their land fertile. It goes on a chain, and Prince Langham's nation is the last in line. So when Mary Yang is short for the day, they're the ones who suffer most. That's why he's here, demanding you start your post immediately. I shook my head slowly as the too much crashed over my head. I don't think I can do this, guys. Wherever and whatever Tearaway is, it's not my fight. Danny leaned forward and gripped my knee, squeezing a pressure point. My breath caught in my throat so it didn't birth into an obnoxious scream that would accomplish nothing. I expect you want to live. This is me being patient. I suggest you not test my limits. He finally released my knee on Mary Yang's command. Danny and I scowled at each other, but we said nothing. Mary Yang's voice was small, but full of conviction and a calm I wished I could feel. There was no one else for Tearaway, so I was brought into the job far too young. I didn't have a proper puller the moment I was awakened, so it took its toll on me. She lifted her arms and frowned at the translucent skin with veins that looked labored and faintly bluish. It felt like a cold fish trying to escape, I agreed, making sure we were talking about the same thing. All this noise about souls and omens was way out of my league. I felt like I was stuck in a science fiction movie with only a map of Hogwarts and a locked wardrobe to Narnia to get me out. I clutched my metaphorical crystal ball and plunged deeper into the strangeness. So Tonga was on the edge of death, and the soul inside of her knew it, so it was freaking out and turned cold. Is that right? Then I pulled it out of her and fed it to Vaughn, and I guess Mason, that guy, and then what? It's a peaceful death for Tonga, and the soul fuels one of Tearaway's nation's suns for one more day. But how does the soul get from the guys to Tearaway? Mary Yang gave me a patient smile, not irritated at all by my curiosity, the gem. The pullers are tied to Tearaway, so the soul goes directly from them to the suns with no additional effort on their part. That's incredible. So Vaughn and Mason can do that now? I'm an omen? Danny threw out his hands in exasperation. That's what I've been explaining this whole time. But she says the exact same thing, and all of a sudden you're not daft? Mary Yang nodded, ignoring Danny's outburst. That's right, October. That's why you need a Death Reaper. Danny is my Death Reaper, or my puller. He's equipped to deal with the corroding soul in ways that I am not. You and I are uniquely equipped to extract the corroded soul, but it's poison to us if it stays in us too long. That's why we need a Reaper to pull it from us. The problem is there's a sea of ready and willing Reapers, but only me as an omen. And now you, of course, if you choose it. If she chooses it? Danny guffawed. Don't give her the option. We're grasping at our last hope, Mary Yang. There is no other choice. Mary Yang addressed only me in her delicate Julie Andrews British accent, her hands folded in her lap. This job is difficult. Each time I do it, it takes a dreadful toll on me. I very much like you, despite what you must think of us. I wouldn't wish this on anyone. It'll always be your choice to help us or not. Her voice quieted. But make no mistake, we need you. I will die if I keep up at this pace. If I die, all of Tearaway goes with me. That's millions of men, women, children, and babies. I stared at her a few moments, watching her face for tells to be absolutely sure she wasn't pulling my leg. I deflated at her kindness, my shoulders relaxing. Thank you. Thank you for treating me like a person in this. Now how come your boys don't look starving? I thought the famine was across the board. That's an excellent observation. It is, but duendes aren't technically citizens of Tearaway. They live here mostly. They can survive on human food just fine. The rest of Tearaway survives on a crop called buhay, which needs the sun if it's to grow. Even the duendes who live in Tearaway don't suffer the same as the others who starve. Danny, Vaughn, and Mason are duende. Well, Mason's half duende, half matriculan. I jerked my chin in Danny's direction, but directed my question to the only person I would speak to. How come his skin's not like yours? He's lucky, she answered, and I could hear how forlorn she sounded. Danny did something I didn't expect. He placed his heavy hand on Mary Ann's shoulder, giving her a squeeze of solidarity. There's nothing wrong with your skin, he told her quietly. It might have been sweet if I didn't hate him so much. He glared at me. You shut up about it. She's lovely how she is. I should ask why you're so puny. I bristled, hating it when people remarked on my stature. I'd always been behind on the growth curve. Ollie and Allie had done everything to make sure we'd had enough to eat, but some nights there just wasn't anything there. Now that I was an adult and could eat when I needed to, I'd earned a healthy amount of muscle and curves. A slam on my body felt like a slam on them and their efforts to keep me healthy, which was one thing I would not stand for. Shut your blowhole, dude. I clocked you once just fine with my puny arms. Untie me and I'll do it again. I'm not sure why I thought it was a good idea to taunt Danny, but I quickly remembered why I hated him. The back of his hand flew out and knocked me across the face, snapping my head to the side. Danny, no! Mary Ann cried as my head bobbed and lolled downward. Sparks went off in my vision as I blinked away the pain that echoed through my face. I tasted blood in my mouth and felt a little dribble onto my lip. Mary Ann was on her feet, moving the bear of a man back with her wide eyes and stricken expression. You can't do that to her. She's going to be my sister. She pointed to my slumped posture and messy ponytail that was half pulled out of the rubber band from all the chaos. Apologize to her, Danny. I'm serious. I can't have you fighting with her. This has to work. Of all the things that left me speechless about that day, Danny actually muttering a grudging, I'm sorry, was in the top 10 of my most confusing list. Though he was the one with the muscle, she was clearly the alpha. He was the pit bull who submitted only to the kitten, and even when she purred, he responded to the roar lurking beneath. Mary Ann ignored both of our seething and resumed her place in the chair, sitting like a lady amongst wolves. She covered his large mitt with her dainty one and looked up at him with a gentle grace I was sorely lacking. She picked the conversation back up as if there had been no interruption. I could tell the girl had been bred for politics. Danny won't strike you again. Do you have any questions, October? I digested this while something burned in me that I needed to say. I have to talk to you, I said to Mary Ann, but only you. Can you tell your Reaper to give us a minute? Good that you're learning the proper terms. Mary Ann looked up at Danny, who scoffed. Not a chance. Say what you have to. She doesn't do a thing without me. I fumed at having no space and no privacy. Fine, have it your way. I hoped my tone sounded apologetic when I said to Mary Ann, your boyfriend pinned me down and kissed me. Just thought you should know. I socked him for it, but it happened. Mary Ann nodded, unsurprised by what I assumed would be a devastating blow. It was a desperate attempt to suck the soul out of you. He should not have done that, but he wasn't thinking straight. That's how I sometimes feed it to him when he takes the corroded soul from me. In the last day of a human's life, their soul begins to rot, like a quick-acting poison. It's what makes it so cold during that final day. It's dangerous to us omens if it's in us for a prolonged period of time. I wasn't sure how to process the whole poison bit, so I put it on a shelf in my mind as I glared up at Danny. Don't try anything like that again. Danny addressed me with a similar dose of hatred. I won't be able to now anyway. Vaughn and Mason are your Death Reapers because they got to you first. Vaughn shouldn't have done it, but he did. And Mason assumed he was too old for the soul to go into him at all, otherwise he wouldn't have touched you while you were being awakened. He wiped a hand over his face. I thought Mason was too old too. But Vaughn should have known better. I could have handled 2 omens, or at least talked you through suppressing the chill yourself until a trained Reaper could be assigned to you. The list of Reapers is a mile long, and Vaughn is not on it. Why not? If he can't do it, then how did he? Danny clenched his jaw as he spoke. Oh, he can do it, but he's not supposed to. He was banned from ever being able to serve his post a few years ago. Never graduated from the academy. Is that important, graduating from the academy? I don't know, Danny simpered. Is having a nursing degree important, or can anybody off the streets do it? Marianne waved her hand as if to excuse Vaughn's expulsion from their wizard school of death chugging. Vaughn's impulsive. Got into a bit of trouble when he was younger. He's learned his lesson. He's fine now. A lifetime ban was too harsh. That's why Ezra hired him to work as a secondary guard for the household. Poor dear couldn't find a job otherwise after it all hit the fan with the vampire attack. So you started the party without me. You have to know that's a mistake. Vaughn's voice reached me before he did. He descended the stairs, taking in my panic that was laced with anger. Give me a few minutes with the girl, Mace. Though I loathed Danny, I had been well introduced to the danger Vaughn presented. I swallowed hard and kept my head down, praying he didn't smell fresh blood on me. That is the end of chapter 15. We are doing so good. We are getting through this book, and I'm really enjoying reading it to you. Thank you for letting me make mistakes. Thank you for letting me try new things and being okay with, I don't know, doing something different, just for the fun of it. Thank you for being patient with my bunny who likes to hop around and make a lot of noise, and for being patient with, with me as I learn how to do this. I am very glad that I get to read to you and that we get to spend this time together. You can read ahead if you like, or you can see me next Tuesday when I read you the next chapter of Taste.